Alright, welcome everyone as we take a look at the John Deere QA5 cutting unit. Today's review, we're basically going to talk about the pros and cons of what I see on the cutting unit, and what things are really great, and then what things could certainly use some improvement. I think overall, as a lightweight cutting unit, this cutting unit does a superb job, but as with everything, when you're doing cutting units, it's really all in the setup and really understanding how this works. So let's go ahead and go on to the pros and cons, and I've mixed these up so we won't hear from all at once. So let's start off with a pro. One of the pros I think for this cutting unit is the click adjust. If you've got experience with the older style cutting units, you know that there were a nut and a bolt that you had to tighten and loosen and back and forth. And so John Deere upgraded these and has now gone with the click adjust, which I think has pretty much become an industry standard on everybody's cutting units. I think this was a great addition to making this easy to adjust. The second pro, I believe, is the eccentric bolt for the cutting unit. I believe on any cutting unit that the eccentric bolt is essential to making sure that these cutting units are parallel. A con kind of deal as well is two things. One, there's not a dot on the eccentric bolt so that you can change it. The other con would be that the throw is just way too much. So if you look at the throw on this, as he's turning the wrench on the right, he's barely moving it, and this thing turns a ton. So what ends up happening is when you tighten it down, it moves all over the place. The good thing about it, and I think one of the great attributes of this system, is you get a 35 thousandths adjustment. And that gives you quite a bit of distance. The thing I really don't like is that you've got an eccentric on both sides of the cutting unit, and I don't think you need that much adjustment. That's 70 thousandths of adjustment, and not only that, but when you don't have dots on the end of them so you can center them, then they could be offset, and that could throw you off. All right, so another con, not necessarily a huge con, but one nonetheless, is this worm gear. The worm gear works, and it does a great job when it's working. I think one of the things that I see is that the teeth can get worn out quickly and break. And so what that means is your height of cut adjustment won't hold for the most part, because as soon as you turn that, it just kind of acts like a stripped nut. You can't see the worm gear right now, so here is a new one, and that's basically what that worm gear looks like. So as long as you use a drill and not an impact on the end of this, they will certainly last longer, but you're certainly going to want to have some of these in stock so that when one does break, you can just replace it. Alright, I think another tough one, kind of a con, because when you're rebuilding this and putting new reels in, it's certainly a hassle, is this pin that goes into the side plate. So basically what you do is you unbolt that bolt that I'm pointing at there, and then you're supposed to take that pin out. Well, you can pry on it and everything, but there's rust and debris and stuff that gets caught in there, and it makes it really difficult to get it out without mangling up the end of it. Another pro is this speed link adjustment or quick adjustment link system that they have. When you adjust one side of the cutting unit, no matter what side it is, the quick link equally adjusts the other side, and it's within a few thousandths. I think you're still going to have to fine tune your adjustment for the most part, but it kind of speeds up the process, and you can take that bar in and out to adjust the ends independently. So I certainly think that's a pro. The other is the roller options. I think these, it's a pro to have, certainly to have multiple roller options here. These are all 2-inch rollers. This is the new MT version of the roller. Basically, the dual overlap marks that you see on most cutting units. This is to help eliminate that. And so that's what you see from that roller. And then they've got a full grooved roller, and then the solid roller, and then I believe they have a couple of 3-inch options as well. A con, the side sheets. One thing I struggle to grasp is that we've went to side sheets, and it isn't just John Deere but everyone else that bolt on. And I'll explain in a diagram here in a second on why I don't like this idea. You know, if you look at this diagram, this is the old style John Deere cutting unit, and this is a welded frame. So it's welded on both sides. So what would happen is if you were to hit something with that cutting unit and it got pushed up, it would move both sides together. And so you wouldn't throw the cutting unit out of square. On the other hand, if it's not and it's just bolted on, well, then you have a tendency, if you hit the corner of the cutting unit, that it only moves one side. And so now it throws the whole cutting unit out of square, and so now you have to unbolt the thing and then square it all back up again. In my mind, it just seems like a more rigid system if you have a 3-piece frame that's welded together. So your 2 side sheets are welded to a metal bar that goes across the center of the cutting unit. So that way everything moves together up and down. And so it allows you to keep that cutting unit parallel as well. Now, the good thing about it is with it being bolted on, you can certainly loosen them up and then put it back together and you're good to go. But it's, you know, in my mind, it's trying to minimize the amount of having to do that. And you know, I have seen some things on forums and that type of thing of questions on why these things get out of square, and that, in my mind, that may lend itself to that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please visit our website at equipmentinformer.com and look for our next review. Thank you very much.